Let's take a closer look at two pitchers who might be league winners. Up next on Fantasy Baseball Today Express. Welcome into FBT Express on Monday, August 11th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White, and let's take a closer look at two pitchers who could be league winners down the stretch. And we've talked a lot about Edward Cabrera, but he just maybe had his best start of the season. 8 innings of 1-run ball, 11 strikeouts at the Atlanta Braves. And Brandon Woodruff, the other name here, another strong start this one against the Mets. 7 innings of 2-run ball with 8 strikeouts. He had 16 whiffs on just 79 pitches. And he has a 2.29 ERA and a 0.65 whip through his first 6 starts. Scott, what do you think? These two pitchers be potential league winners down the stretch?
I think they could be. I don't know why you doubt either at this point. There were a lot of concerns coming in. I mean, Edward Cabrera, there've been a number of years of fake outs and ultimate letdowns that I think certainly made me skeptical when he started this run. But, it's just been getting better and better. Yeah, this start at the Braves over the weekend was his best yet. 2 hits in 8 innings, 11 strikeouts, a season high. This is the second straight start allowing 2 hits, by the way. And you could date Cabrera's success back even further than this, but I take it back 7 starts. Because 7 starts, that's really when you saw his arsenal kind of settle in, fading the fastball and sinker, which, the 2 versions of the fastball. He's always had trouble with a fastball, really emphasizing the changeup and the curveball as his top 2 pitches. And in those 7 starts, Edward Cabrera has a 2.06 ERA, 0.78 whip, 0.78, and 9.3 K per 9. Also, what I love is that in 5 of those 7 starts, he's gone 6 innings or more. So he's actually giving us a workload befitting of an ace. Not that I think he is an ace, but I think he's good. And then the big concern for Woodruff, the reason for skepticism, coming off a major shoulder surgery, and it was clear he just didn't have the same velocity on his minor league rehab assignments. And that's been true in the majors too. 2.5 miles per hour he's lost on that pitch. And that is kind of a critical pitch for him. He's not somebody who just had a fastball because, he's got to have something to set up all the secondary offerings, but the secondary offerings really the highlights of his arsenal. No, that wasn't Woodruff. Fastball was his main weapon. 2.5 miles per hour. I'd be worried about just a 1 mile per hour loss, but it hasn't seemed to matter. 11.5 K per 9 since rejoining the Brewers. And in this start Friday, of his 16 swinging strikes, 9 came on the fastball itself. So it still seems like a killer pitch for him. Obviously, the results say more than I can.
Yeah, so 2 names right now that are just lighting it up and have been really good here, Edward Cabrera and Brandon Woodruff. I have 2 other names here who maybe they're not league winners, but they could be out there on your waiver wire. Jacob Marcy had 3 steals in a game on Saturday, and through 11 games, he is hitting .419 with 1 homer, 5 steals, a 1280 OPS. And Luke Keeschel keeps on hitting 3 for 5 with a walk-off homer on Sunday. He had 2 hits on Friday as well. In 5 games since returning, he has 10 hits, 2 homers, and 10 RBI. Scott, do you think Luke Keeschel and Jacob Marcy are must-add players in fantasy?
I mean, that's a little strong. And so I hate that you go for the strongest question and make me sound like I'm opposed to these players.
Why do you hate these players?
Why do I hate these players? I certainly in leagues that have a standard roto lineup with the middle infield spot, the 5 outfielder spots, I think just given how deep you have to go into the hitting pool, you probably need to be making a play for Keeschel and Marcy if you haven't already. In leagues that use more of a head-to-head lineup, just 9 hitters started total, I still think they could have their uses. You might have a great second baseman already and then have no need to look at Keeschel. Like if you have Jose Altuve started there, I can't imagine your interest in Keeschel is that high. unless maybe you move Altuve to the outfield. But you get what I'm saying. Ketel Marte, if you have somebody like that, like why would you bother with Keishel? If you don't, if you're, for example, in one head-to-head points league, I'd been starting Luis Arise. He's fine. He's not really going to set me apart in that format. So, Keishel's not a sure thing by any means, but I like the profile. He's obviously delivered in the very short amount of time he's been around. And what gives me maybe the most hope for him in that head-to-head points context is that really good plate discipline. I think it's still 5 walks versus 2, 3 strikeouts, something like that. And, he showed it in the minors too. That's also the case for Marcy. Like plate discipline was one of the biggest selling points for these two players. So even in that shallowest format, the points league, you could see them being viable. But it's neither is a sure thing. It's a tiny sample. Both of them have contact quality issues. I would say Marcy especially. That makes it so, if they don't prove to be enough of a threat at the plate, then the walks are going to dry up. But so far, so good. And in Marcy's case, he's got the big steal total as well. That is worth getting excited about. So I would say less than must start, but very interesting regardless of format.
All right, let's take a quick break, and we'll be back right after this. Welcome back in FBT Express. Let's wrap up with some news items from the weekend. Hunter Green is expected to return this Wednesday against the Phillies, and he built up to 79 pitches last time out in the minors. Starter sit Hunter Green his first game back.
I would lean towards start just because of how good he was before he got hurt. His stuff seemed fine on his rehab assignment. I know the last start wasn't great, but I'd lean towards start. Not must start, but I'd lean toward it.
What about Byron Buxton? He's expected to be activated at some point in the Twins' upcoming series against the Yankees. Starter sit Byron Buxton.
At some point, I'd like to know whether it was Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. But even if it's Wednesday, that's 5 games Buxton would be in line to play. I think that's enough given how studly he was before. So I'd try to start him.
All right, next up, we have some prospects that were called up this weekend. The Athletics called up pitching prospect Luis Morales, and he started on Sunday. He only went 2 2/3 innings. He did not allow a hit. He walked 5 with 4 strikeouts. And the Giants called up outfield prospect Drew Gilbert on Friday. He came over from the Mets in the Tyler Rogers trade at the deadline. Any deep league interest in Luis Morales or Drew Gilbert?
Not a ton. Like they could obviously put themselves in a position to matter in fantasy. So Luis Morales, his final 2 months at AAA, he was pretty much just working in relief. 2 innings here, maybe 3 innings there. So this first appearance for the Athletics was pretty short. Some good strikeout ability, but some control issues too. Kind of wait and see, sort of like we did with Jack Perkins, who had a pretty good start over the weekend, by the way. And then Drew Gilbert was a consensus top 100 prospect that year. That year he got traded from the Astros to the Mets. And then he had some injuries and kind of fell off, but he's turned things around this year. So since his last 32 games, going back to before the Mets traded him to the Giants, 325 batting average, 8 home runs, 4 steals, a 1060 OPS in those 32 games. So it doesn't surprise me Gilbert is already getting a chance in the majors. Still, I think he's not of such a high caliber that we need to rush out and at him. We can wait and see.
All right. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to our full-length podcast, Fantasy Baseball Today, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today Express, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.